welcome to episode 58 of the Dental Realist podcast. I am Dr. Ryder Waldron. I'm joined as usual by Dr. Troy Stevens and Dr. Marcus DeNeff. Troy, how's it going today?
Going really well. Thank you for asking. I appreciate you worried about my well-being.
I'm not. It's just that I have to fake it on this podcast. But go ahead and tell us how your day's been.
Well, today's been fantastic. One of those days where half the day I was alone at the office because one of my business partners is gone to Peru, and the other business partner is taking his family rafting a river somewhere, I believe in Oregon, I believe. So, yeah, holding down the fort the next few days by myself. Going to be kind of quiet around the office.
Nice. So what do you have, about 7 hygienists running at the same time with you?
Yeah. No, I used to do 4 when we had down, but that was back when I was young. Now I just have 2 maximum. I can't handle anymore.
Yeah, wow. Well, Marcus, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, I actually do care about you.
Yes, I knew you did. Just you could tell in the tone of your voice.
I could feel it. Well, it's been an interesting few weeks. We lost an assistant. I mean, we didn't lose her. It's like she left. I mean, we didn't misplace her or something.
You can find her, but she just doesn't work for you anymore.
She no longer works at the practice.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're a little bit shorthanded, and that's I'll be honest with you. The lighter workload has been a-okay. I'm okay with that.
So you've had
Absolutely.
one assistant, and is that it? One assistant? She works every day, or?
Yep, she's having to work every day, and we've got 2 dentists that are trying to alternate who's doing what when, and and then I'm taking off and going camping for about 4 days, starting tomorrow.
Where are you headed to, Marcus?
We're going to go to a place called Sawmill Canyon. It's in the Chalice National Forest. It's a place I've been going there as a kid, since I was a kid, for forever.
In Idaho somewhere?
Camping, or do you have an RV?
We go with people who have RVs. So we've always just done a tent. So
yeah, I'll find you. I got a few days off this weekend. I'm gonna come over there and find you.
Yes, come on. We actually get some fighter jets. I'm assuming they're out of Mountain Home, because if you just went across the mountains and that way, we get these fighter jets occasionally that'll drop into that mountain area, and it's crazy because all of a sudden you'll hear just all of a sudden this huge sound dropping in over the mountains, and then you see the big jet and it flies down low over the trees. And
they might do some training in that area. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
15s. Yeah,
Sweet.
Sound of freedom, baby.
Yeah, right.
Love it.
Oh, well.
Ryder, how have you been doing? We're genuinely concerned about you.
I was waiting for you to ask. Well, let me tell you about my week. I watched The Bachelorette last night. I know you guys are big fans. I had my heart broken by the Utah Jazz. Not an uncommon feeling in my life. And other than that, I've just had a couple of good days of dentistry, and now I'm happy to be talking to you two.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the Jazz, boy, you never saw that coming. I mean, they were up 2-0 and lost 4 straight. Wow, how did that happen?
That one hurt. Yeah, that one hurt, guys. Yeah, it's going to be a long summer. That's all I can say. But I figure I've got about 40 years left on this earth, and that gives the Jazz 40 seasons to make up for it.
And you might die, and they still won't ever have a championship.
I will not go until they win a championship. And when they do, I can probably go freely. That'll be fine.
Then we'll just name you Methuselah.
I'll be here until I'm 1 million years old.
962 or whatever it was.
Just waiting for those Jazz to win. So, all right. Well, should we get into our topic tonight?
Let's do it.
So we got an email from one of our listeners who wanted our opinion on their practice situation. They asked that we keep their name and everything private, but they gave us some details about their practice setup, and let me read this email, guys, and then we'll kind of pick it apart. So it says, question for you, and it could be a topic for a future podcast. I am considered an associate dentist. I have an awesome setup. Here are some stats, and I will be an open book with these. Take-home pay is about between 250 and 300,000 a year. Works on average 30 hours a week. The schedule, here's this this person's schedule: Tuesday 1 to 8 p.m., Wednesday 7 a.m. to 1 p.m., Thursday 1 to 8, Friday 10 to 5, and every other Saturday 8 to 1. This person doesn't pay any of their own lab fees or malpractice insurance, has decent mentorship, extremely busy office. I've been an associate for 4 years. I feel as though I am stuck with my ultimate goal as a dentist. Originally, I always wanted to own my own office, etc., but my gig I have going now is pretty dang good. A couple drawbacks include it is a relatively high stress environment. The late nights and early mornings make for an unbalanced sleep schedule. The every other Saturday has gotten in the way of family and friend time. I'm trying to work through my student loans as efficiently as I can with goals of paying them off by October 2023. I'm pretty happy, just caught up on the feelings of uncertainty with my goal. My boss has offered potential buy-in, but to be honest, my philosophy of treating patients doesn't entirely match with his, and I do feel our goals and philosophies should be similar if I was in this for the long haul. I truly don't believe I am the only one in this situation. Don't get me wrong, I feel very fortunate to have my position, but wondering if you guys had any light to shed or thoughts on a future podcast and could incorporate a topic as such. I appreciate your help in advance. So, well, we appreciate this email. Like I said, it's from a listener, obviously. We're not going to say who it is, but they know who they are, and we appreciate the email. So, guys, let's go through this. I'm going to ask you first, Troy, what do you feel like are some positives with this associate setup?
Positive with this associate setup is the fact that they're making pretty good money. That's one of the higher associateships I've seen. There could be some others out there. I'm not 100% sure, but if I was making that a year, I would be very, very happy as an associate as far as that goes. Also, 30 hours a week is not bad. That's a good thing. So we're just focusing on the good right now. So those are two good things. Not having to pay malpractice insurance, lab fees, that's fantastic as well. Those are some things you'll definitely have to pay with ownership.
Absolutely. Marcus, what do you see as some of the negatives of this setup?
4 years, like this person indicates that they want to maybe get into practice ownership, and they've been at it for 4 years now. So, that to me is a little bit long if your goal is really to be an owner, to be sitting there, to be an associate. And that's probably why this person's really got their wheels turning and thinking, okay, am I at that point? Do I try to buy into this practice? What am I doing here? So I think 4 years is a little long as an associate if your goal is to be an owner. The Saturday thing, I don't know about you guys. My sense is almost every dentist doesn't go into it so they can work Saturdays.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea of being tied into those Saturday hours. I'm just looking here through it again, kind of glancing through the email. Some of the hours work until 8 p.m. That to me, I wouldn't like that. Those are some things that's jumping out to me.
Yeah, that schedule, it would be a tough turnaround going from that Tuesday 1 to 8 p.m. and then being back to work Wednesday morning at 7. That would be the real tough one for me. That's a tough start to the week.
That's brutal.
Yeah. Troy, what negatives did you see with this? I know you had some thoughts on some of the negatives.
Yeah, exactly. Marcus brought up some of them as well, but the schedule is definitely one of those things as an associate you have no control over, right? When you're an associate, you pretty much work whenever the doctors want you to work, and I think that's exactly why the Saturday thing is going on now. In my own personal office right now, we want to open up some Saturdays, but it won't be me that's working it. You know what I'm saying? We've talked about this on previous podcasts as well. What is the reason you went into dentistry to begin with? Well, one of my main reasons was the work schedule. So that in and of itself is one of those things that is very important to me. So if my office is open in the evenings, it's not going to be me working them. And if it's open Saturdays, it's not going to be me working them because that's my time that I want to. And and that's one of the advantages of an ownership is you can kind of direct that. With an associateship, you'll have to be a little more flexible. So kind of weigh the pros and cons there as far as that goes. One thing that the person mentioned as well was the relatively high stress environment. Now, kind of comparing and contrasting associateships and ownership, I don't know if you would potentially be able to determine how it would feel in the same practice being an owner of that practice versus the associate. If it's already as stressful as an associateship, being an owner may not be any less stressful. Now you'll have to deal with staffing issues and bills and paying your own, your own supplies and doing all these things that you really as an associate don't have to worry about, the general running of the business thing. So in my opinion, running a business is fairly stressful. I'm not 100% sure that would go away with ownership.
And some stresses come just because you're buying in if you buy into this practice, but this person mentions that the philosophy of treating patients doesn't entirely match up. Well, just because you bought in doesn't mean now this other dentist is going to say, oh, okay, I'm good with doing things the way you want to do them now. I mean, unless you're the majority owner or you own the whole thing, it's going to be a little bit harder to change that aspect of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm wondering.
Yeah,
go ahead, Troy. Go ahead.
I apologize. I was just thinking that along those same lines, Marcus, is, if the person that you buy in with is open to the fact that now you're an owner and they are respectful of your position as an owner now, knowing that you're going to have to be, taking more responsibilities and stuff. And if they're open to allowing you to make some ideas, then that may not be such a bad thing.
Yeah.
But, we've all heard of this where, someone buys in, the philosophies don't mix, and the next thing you know, it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
They're out of there. They hate each other's guts, and it was a really bad thing. So a
Well,
lot of
yeah,
partnerships go that way.
and I'm thinking, if this office wants to have some evening hours and early morning hours like they do now, then if this person buys in as a part owner or half owner or something like that, is the owner now going to say, oh, I'll take some of those Tuesday nights or I'll take a Thursday night? I doubt it. And maybe they have some other associates that could fill in then, but these hours are probably still going to be hours they're going to want to see patients, and it may fall on this person who emailed us to fill those hours. And so things may not change even with partial ownership. That would concern me a little bit.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's one thing you have to be careful. If you're in a 50-50 partnership, it has to be 50-50 give and take, right?
Yeah.
So if they expect you to work for Saturdays, then maybe they need to pick up some Saturdays, or you guys both decide, look, we're not going to be working Saturdays. Let's get an associate to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, looking at this person talked about the unbalanced sleep schedule. So if I'm working till 8 o'clock at night, I would probably want to sleep in a little bit, but they can't. And so, but on, Tuesdays, if they aren't working until 1, maybe that's the day to sleep in, and they've got, Sunday, Monday, and then Tuesday where they can sleep in. Then on Wednesday, you got to get up early. Well, Thursday, you can maybe sleep in. Friday, that is really a tough thing to get your body used to. I know, on Fridays, I'll usually sleep in a little bit. Saturdays, I'll get up early. And then Sundays, I'll sleep in a little bit. But then when Monday hits, it's like, oh man, it's tough for my body to adjust getting up at 6:45 again for, 4 or 5 days straight. And so this unbalanced sleep schedule, I could see that being a real concern and it would probably make me a little moody, but I'm typically moody anyway. Mm-hmm. So I could see that being kind of a tough schedule. And then if you have a spouse and kids, that it's tough because they're juggling the same schedule all the time. And if you're working at nights or evenings, you got to figure that you might miss some of your kids' games or school programs and things like that. And those are things you can't get back later on in life. So I think that would be a real concern for me, and probably something to make me think twice. Yeah. Marcus kind of touched on this a little bit. He talked about, and Troy, I think you did too, but some of the stresses that may be picked up by being an owner. So why don't we see if we can kind of discuss some of those. Marcus, let's start with you, but what kind of stresses do you see could come into play by actually owning the practice that may not be a stress right now?
You might have a little more responsibility managing staff, reviews on salary reviews, just when staff members have frustrations with each other, or they want to raise, or just there's just management things of people that, maybe that's your thing. If that's something you love doing, dealing with that, then that's not going to be a stress. But probably for most dentists, that's not necessarily one of the things you really went into the profession wanting to do. And so I think that could be a stressor, a stress point.
Yeah, and Troy, what stresses do you think could be minimized, I guess, by ownership? Can you think of any that you would go from being an associate to an owner and actually lose some of the stresses?
That's a great question. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I can't think of one either where I'm
You
like,
know,
oh,
yeah.
that eliminated that
I
stress.
Being an
that's a
owner,
tough one.
I've had I only associated for a year,
Yeah.
and that's not very long. However, I feel that I have way more stress now because another thing you're worrying about is if you're buying into the practice, you've got that bill to worry about now. So they also mentioned that they're trying to pay their student loans off by 2023. That's fantastic. Also, you're going to have to worry now about when am I going to pay my business loan off? How long is that going to take? Because that's just
Yeah.
dumping a whole ton more debt on top of you, and that's stress that you don't really have right now. That's one thing I really like is when you get your business paid off. That's fantastic. That's just a great feeling because you don't have to worry about that, $12,000 a month bill or whatever it is, depending on the price of your practice.
Yeah.
If you're
Yeah.
talking about $1 million, you're going to be paying
Yeah.
$10,000 to $12,000 a month.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I couldn't think of any stresses that could be reduced unless you really love to be in charge. I mean, I know some people would much rather be the boss than be, I guess, an associate employee type position. And yeah, I don't know. For me, I do kind of like being in charge, but then all the other stresses are tough. I mean, it's tough to deal with so many personalities of the staff. And when I've worked in other offices and as an associate, it was nice to finish up the work and just walk out the door. You're not going to get an emergency call after hours because it doesn't go to your cell phone. If the staff has a problem, they're going to go complain to the owner dentist. And if the person collects money or doesn't at the front office or at the front desk, then whatever. But you get paid either way for the most part. So yeah, I'm not sure unless it's just been a goal of ownership. I'm not sure if there is anything to be gained or any stresses
Yeah,
that could be lost by this. But um,
right.
yeah, I don't know. Let's talk about the situation with the current owner where practice philosophies don't mesh up. Um, Marcus, have you ever been in a situation where you worked as an associate or even worked as a partner or anything like that in an office where your practice philosophies didn't match up with the owner of the practice?
I absolutely have. um, when I had tried to merge my practice with another guy, um, it's been 7, 8 years ago. I don't remember how long it's been. But anyway, the goal was we were going to merge together. I would come in and be an associate and eventually buy in and buy back into the overall big practice. And one of the things I noticed right off the bat was that practice really didn't treat perio. They didn't really diagnose it and treat it. It was just, tons of prophies. They had a lot of hygienists. It was a busy practice. And I saw that as an opportunity. And I asked if I could present it at a staff meeting. Well, they didn't really have staff meetings either. So we had the staff meeting. I went ahead and presented this idea of diagnosing more perio and that it's a service to the patient. It's a lost opportunity for us. And I got stared. I had daggers stared at me by the hygienist. I could tell it wasn't going good. And it turned out the dentist that owned that practice, he didn't really see any value in it. And from that point forward, it was pretty rough. Those hygienists would avoid coming to get me for exams. I mean,
Wow.
it got pretty bad. And maybe that's an extreme example, but it really can. I mean, if you aren't on the same page on some
Yeah.
basic things, it could not turn out well.
Oh, I
Yes.
absolutely, I could see that happening. And if the staff has loyalty to the owner dentist, man, they're going to make your life rough. Troy,
Yeah.
when you have been trying to hire an associate, I know you've had a couple work for you. Do you discuss like in depth your practice philosophies and how you think patients should be treated or treatment planned or anything like that?
Yeah, we do. We talk to them about it. Basically, there's times we'll sit and go over X-rays or something and just say, hey, what do you think of this? And kind of see what their thought processes are. And also another thing we've tried to do is make sure that we keep our the materials that we use in the office the same. There's certain dentists out there that like certain materials. Well, when you get a multi-doctor practice, it's like, oh, Doctor So and So uses this, Doctor So and So uses this, and Doctor So and So uses this. So you've got all this stock and this supplies, and it's just a nightmare.
Yeah.
So one thing we've asked our associates to do is use our stuff, use our equipment, use our materials, supplies, the things that we are already using, because we don't want to keep a ton of different stock of a million different products. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for
So we don't want to
sure.
have like 3 different bonding agents and 12 different impression materials and all this stuff. So yeah, along the philosophy of practice philosophy, yes, it's nice to have that. Now, there's never going to be a time where you are exactly spot on every single time with the owner. I mean, they always had that whole adage that if you ask 7 dentists how to treat something, you get 7 different answers. Maybe even 8.
Right.
There's a lot of ways to treat stuff, but looking at like a simple restoration, is this a cavity or is it not? Does someone treat it before it hits the DEJ? Do you wait till it hits the DEJ? Those
Yeah.
kind of things. And you have different times, different patients, and so there are some variants in there too. So it's a hard question, but yeah, if you've got a guy that's doing occlusals on everything that doesn't really need anything, or possibly starts pulping stuff because they're doing occlusals. We had that happen.
Wow.
In a should have been just like a little open groove seal situation, and somehow he
Yeah.
pulped it.
Wow.
So we got a root canal and a crown out of it. That's just not right.
Sweet.
You got to
No.
be careful of that stuff.
Yeah, and I remember, and I don't know how the dental boards are now, but where they had the different areas of dental boards, and the board that we took, the centrals, was if the decay was to the DEJ, then it was something you would fill. But I think I want to say it was like the Northeast board or something like that. They would allow decay that was only halfway through the enamel to be treatment planned and filled.
Hmm.
And I still see some of that now. I uh, I have a hygienist that used to work for me that moved away, but I've talked to her about some of the dentists she works for now. And one, he will treatment plan anything that shows up radiographically. If it's just into the enamel a little bit, that's getting a filling. And the other one does not do that. And this other one was trying to hire an associate, and the associate had said that he really likes doing endo, and he'd love to do a lot of molar endo and stuff like that. But the owner dentist said that he believes that endodontists should be doing the molar endo because they're just better at it. So why would he want to hire this dentist when he thinks that it would be giving his patients subpar treatment? And man, like things like that could really get in the way of a business partnership, I think. So
Yeah, for
I would be
sure.
curious with this listener what the philosophy, how the philosophies differ. Like if it's they want to keep everything in house, or they want somebody that wants to refer out. I don't know. I'd be curious about that.
Yeah. To
So
how much difference is it really? Is it just a few things, or is it a lot of
yeah,
things?
yeah,
Not only that, if you're an associate, and say for example the other dentist is treatment planning stuff that you're doing, then that makes you liable. So you got
hmm,
to be careful of that too, because as soon as you touch the tooth, you own it.
yeah,
And if you don't think it's a cavity, don't do it, type
right.
thing, because you're the one that's going to have to be, answering in a court of law if somebody decides to file a suit or something, and you go, why did you do this? Well, the other dentist, he diagnosed it, and I work for him, so, or him or her. So, it's one of those things you have to be kind of careful of. Yeah, absolutely.
And that can create some stress points too. I mean, where if one of the partners or the associate is always declining to do something that the other one diagnosed, I mean that could quickly create a problem.
Yes. Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's definitely true. So what do you guys think? Do you think buying into a practice where you don't fully agree with your partner on, I mean, do you think that could work like in this situation that we're hearing about? Like, I guess a better question would be, Troy, do you and your partner and the two dentists you work with, do you guys have almost strictly the same practice and diagnosis philosophies, or do you guys differ at all? And does that bring any tension into your relationship?
Yeah, that's a great question. We do have some differing philosophies, but it's not enough to, get too much heartburn over. If somebody is, diagnosed something that I don't feel comfortable with, I'll just say, hey, could you just schedule it with them?
Yeah.
Make sure that it's not on my schedule. And I would hope that they do the same with me. If they think, man, you're crazy, I wouldn't do this, or man, you didn't even see this, type thing. Which that happens too.
Yeah.
Say for
Yeah. Yeah.
example, a patient comes in and I missed something on an X-ray. I have no problem with them telling me, hey, man, we just saw this, and basically, we're going to schedule that and get it fixed up. That's totally fine. Um, but yeah, you have to be open, and if your business partner is open with it, the potential buy-in situation, that they're willing to open and have a dialogue, that I think it's okay. It's when you don't want to talk about it and feelings get hurt and the animosity builds and the staff knows that you've got super bad tension,
Hmm.
between you, and then patients can start noticing it and they may not want to come back there because it's like, man, I don't want to get in the middle of this battle they got going on in that office. I don't know what's going on, but I don't want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of those things you definitely have to have an open communication with before you go into it, so you know exactly what you're getting into.
Yeah, I think having a discussion about that and just laying it out there, like if, this gets diagnosed, I prefer that you treat it, or, if you diagnose it, you treat it. They could have that practice philosophy, I guess. There's probably some ways around that, and yeah, being open about what you like to do and what you don't, what you agree on and what you don't. That's probably a good way to go.
Yep.
Uh, so I want to talk about paying off the loans by 2023. So this is we're not going to say when this person graduated, but this would be very fast to pay it off. And what do you guys think about that idea? I mean, getting rid of debt is awesome, but there's a couple of different thoughts here. So, Marcus, what do you think about paying the loans off early, where it doesn't, as far as we know, it's not the practice helping this person pay the loans off, it's just coming out of their own pocket. What do you think about paying them off this fast?
It feels pretty aggressive to me. And I guess if you're somebody who's super debt averse, which I can't imagine you would be if you're going to be potentially buying a dental practice or part of a dental practice, because that's going to be a big debt. I mean, I don't know many people who have that kind of money.
Yeah.
So depending on where the interest rates are on this student loan debt, you know, it might make sense to stretch that out and put your money somewhere else. I mean, whether that's paying off a different debt or investing some of it or some combination of those things, but just eliminating your student loan as your number one goal. I mean, maybe this person has some reason that that's a thing for them that we just don't know all the details of. But it just generally speaking, I probably wouldn't put paying off your student loans at the top of your debt snowball, so to speak.
Yeah.
That's my idea.
Troy, what about you? Do you agree with Marcus, or do you guys want to argue about
Yeah, I agree with Marcus and Dave Ramsey.
it?
Well, it's probably one of the lowest interest rates loans you could possibly have. Of course, in our day and age, all most loans are pretty darn low interest, which
Pretty
is
low, yeah.
which is pretty nice. But there's no advantage. You can't really write off the interest. You can't do anything, as far as that goes. Like Marcus said, though, if you're debt averse, and you want to just get out from underneath it, that's great. But there are other things you can dish your money into. Now, one thing you want to remember is if you're an owner, you have to finance your own retirement. You don't
Hmm.
have anybody matching anything you're putting into any account at all. So that's one thing to take into account as well. could you potentially say, I'll drag this out. The person here is absolutely this is the best I've ever seen anyone pay off a student loan. I've
Yeah,
never
it's
seen
amazing.
anything that's fast.
Yeah.
And actually, that's fantastic, and more power to them.
We'll just say
Um,
it's under 10 years. Under
yeah,
10 years. Yeah,
under 10
amazing.
years. I mean, that's dental school's not cheap. That's a
Mm-mm.
massive amount of money.
Yep.
And so, but realize that in the long term, you're going to have to finance your own retirement. You're going to have to, have that money set aside. So could you have that money somewhere else? I mean, I'm not saying don't pay your student loan. You'd clearly pay your student loan, but use that money in another account that could accrue some interest that can help you in the long run. The longer the money's in there, the better off you're going to be, right? You have the power of compounding interest or whatever, versus spending it all on a student loan that is really not that big of a deal in the overall scheme of things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with both of you. When I had done my like retirement planning, I don't know how long ago, 15 years ago or something like that, and everybody that I talked to said that, you can kind of treat this student loan kind of like a life insurance policy, and you pay the minimum, and if you die, it goes away. But if you pay it all off and then die, well, you're not getting any of that money back, and the interest rates are so low that if you could put this pay the minimum and put the extra money into something that might get you 9 or 10% interest return, then that might be a better way to go about it. And that's what I've heard. But yeah, then there's people that they just hate to have debt, and so I've heard of people paying off their debts before their student loan debts before they're 40, and then starting retirement then. But like you said, Troy, then you miss out on compounding interest and all that. So I would say that we are not financial advisors, so you should probably talk to one of those guys or gals.
Yes, that's true. I mean,
And
that's
but,
definitely a
but I
great
agree.
thing there.
Yeah,
None of us are pro stuff, that stuff,
yeah,
but just kind of our opinion.
yeah. This is your legal warning that you cannot trust anything we say legally.
For sure.
Oh,
Actually, we're going to get to a topic later on that you can really trust Mark. Well, actually, you shouldn't trust him at all on this one, but we'll get to that later. Um, so terrible. So let's just wrap this up with this. Marcus, you've owned and you've been an employee. Would you stay in this situation, this associateship situation, or would you try to either buy into this current practice or branch out on your own and either start or build your own, buy another practice?
it's a great question. I wish I had a crystal ball and I could just point it, look at this, but some of my perspective has come after the fact, after having gone through stuff. One thing that I would caution this person, anybody, just making sure, what's your motivation? Why do you want to be an owner? Why do you want to be an associate? You know, what are the drivers personally within you that make you want to do that make you think that's going to be the thing for you? I heard somebody say once, be careful because no matter where you go with you. So you're make sure you've got your own kind of your own mental health, your own reasons, all that kind of stuff worked out and good stable spot. Because if you think that being an owner is going to make things so much better, yet you still have some of your own issues, whatever they are, unresolved, and then you go into ownership, those unresolved problems are going to creep up in that scenario as well. So
Makes
um,
sense.
I think there's some definite advantages financially to being in ownership. Absolutely. So um, whether this is the right situation, I don't know. I have a couple of red flags in this situation with this listener. Just the practice philosophy thing, the work hours, just some questions there that I definitely want to dig into before I committed to buying into this practice. But overall, I'd say practice ownership. If it's in your heart, if it's what you want, and you're ready to do it, I think it can have probably the best financial impact on your life.
Roy, what do you say?
Man, I can just say amen to what Marcus said.
Yeah,
I agree 100%
well said.
with what Marcus said. Stresses don't go away. Some could be worse, but you have a lot more, as an owner, you have a lot more control over your own schedule and how the practice functions. sometimes for better, sometimes for worse. The advantages that I have in my practice is I have other doctors that are very good thinkers and very they kind of balance out what I'm weak at, they're strong at. And so, certain things I make mistakes, they help correct it. So if you can get in a position where this may work, depending on how this particular setup would be. But Marcus said the same thing, and I same thing too, is the practice philosophy thing is something you're going to have to really dig into before I would buy into this practice. Another thing you could consider, like Marcus said, is go into, buy another practice or start your own or whatever you want to do that way. Weigh the pros and cons and see what's the most important thing to you. Is it financial stability? Is it your work schedule? Is it this? I have taken a little bit less money right now because I'm working less time, but that means a lot to me because I love not working. And that's just the way I am. And so I take less money. I only work 3 days a week. So hey, that's fine. I understand the repercussion of that. So yeah, weigh the pros and the cons. What is extremely important to you? What is going to get you to your goals quicker, and then make that educated decision based on that.
Yeah, the things that would concern me would be the schedule right now, because I mean, I just think of, with a family, I would hate to be working till 8 o'clock twice a week and missing out on family stuff. The money is excellent, and we can say that where this person is working is not like New York City or LA, where 250 to 300,000 might be, might not go as far. It's a really, really good income. I think I would probably trade some of that income though for some more family time and stuff like that. But this person has Sundays and Mondays off, and some mornings, some afternoons, and so if you got into a rhythm, you could probably make it not so stressful. But working that late, I just know that missing out on kids stuff would really be difficult for me. We give Marcus a really hard time with going to every volleyball tournament in North America, but I don't think Marcus would trade. But I mean, really, Marcus, would you trade day of dentistry for like 1 minute at that volleyball tournament? I don't think you would.
No.
And your kids won't either. I mean, they'll remember that forever, that dad was there. And so I think that's the thing that would really be a negative with me. But the practice philosophy, I think I could, like you guys said, you could work that out. And ownership, more stresses will come with it, but you might have a little more control. But a little more control, you might get a little more flexibility in your schedule too. So I think we'd need a few more details about this, but gosh, I don't know. If you really had a dream of owning a practice, I'd say go for that. But maybe a different practice than this one's if it wasn't going to be everything you hoped and dreamed for. So but we really appreciate this email. Do you guys have any more thoughts on the email before we get into Marcus's topic?
I'm worried about what this Marcus's topic is.
Oh, I am too. Oh,
No, but like you say, that this is a question that's kind of personal to everybody and depends on what you want to get out of it. But great question. Thank you very much for sharing. Hopefully, some of the things at least got you thinking about some stuff, and you can kind of make an educated guess or an educated decision based on what you're feeling and what's most important to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So Marcus, you have an extremely bad habit, and I think this needs to be talked about because we need to stop this right now in every dental office in the world, to be honest. Why don't you just take over and tell us what you want to talk about? You're in favor of something, I'm not. Troy, he's kind of on the fence. Go ahead, Marcus.
Now we're going to do a little bit of potty talk here, okay? So listener beware. But
oh my goodness,
all of us do it. There's no reason to be uncomfortable, but we all got to use the bathroom, right?
We're all adults here.
We
some
all
of us don't act like it.
But is it taboo to use the bathroom to poop at the office? I'm telling you, I don't think it is. I think you do what you got to do. Everybody does it. and if that's your rhythm, if that's when it hits you, then you take care of business and you do what you got to do. And they make air fresheners. There's poopery. I mean, you just do what you got to do, and that's where I stand. That's my
That's where
stand.
you sit. That's where you sit.
That's right.
I absolutely say this should never happen at an office or in a public place of any kind. And I don't even, I'm sweating just talking about this because I'm so uncomfortable. Um, Troy, do you have any thoughts on this at all?
I absolutely have zero comment on this. I did not know we were actually discussing this.
I
I didn't
just
have a
think
clue.
Marcus has gone too far in what he has done, and so we need to open this door. And
Well, be careful when you open that door because
Oh
this is so
man.
terrible.
hey, look, when I had my private practice, it was a
Uh,
little easier because I had a bathroom in my private office, and so it was my bathroom. I was the only one that used it. It was in there. Now where I work, I have to share a bathroom with other people. Um, but
but
I've grown comfortable with it. It is part of what you do, and hey,
uh, there is nothing comfortable about this. I listeners, let us know. I always thought like the worst thing you could do at the office is like bring like fish and warm it up in a microwave because that's like the most disgusting. But you've taken it to a whole new level, Marcus. Um,
Do you not like
anyway,
seafood, Ryder?
I don't like seafood and I don't like the smell of it. I like some. I'll eat some shrimp. I'll eat a little halibut. But you don't warm it
Salmon.
up in a work. You don't warm it up in the office microwave.
Right.
You don't bring a tuna fish sandwich to lunch at the office because it'll take over the entire office. The smell. It's just not.
Or leave it in the
So
fridge for a year.
you don't leave it.
That's
Yeah, you don't do that.
things start
Now,
growing on things in the fridge. We've had some of
yeah.
those experiences where folks have left some food in there and we kind of forgot about it for a while.
Jeez. So a little office decorum goes a long way. So I guess what we could ask our listeners is, what is the worst thing that you have seen happen at a dental office that wasn't dental related? Like I love an egg salad sandwich. I would never bring one to work to eat it in front of people because some people don't like Marcus. He doesn't like an egg. I wouldn't offend him like that.
Yeah, right.
Marcus is offending coworkers left and right. Wow.
natural. It's natural.
Anyway, oh man. Oh, okay. We better wrap this
Better
up.
wrap that up. And on that note,
And on that note,
Let's well,
Marcus, why don't you tell everybody where they can get in contact and let us know their thoughts on a myriad of topics tonight.
yes. Send us your emails, questions, comments. Tell us how you feel about using the toilet at the office.
Wow.
You can send us those comments at dentalrealist@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter. We've got a couple of great books out there. So You Want to Be a Dentist is the first book we wrote, and then we followed that up with So Now You're a Dentist. Just some good advice, really, really good, easy reads. Hope you find those and read those. But we look forward to hearing from you, and we love hearing from our listeners, especially like this topic we discussed today.
Yeah.
Great thing to discuss.
Yeah, the first part was great. The second part, hey, maybe you could take one of those books into the bathroom with you, one of our books,
There you go. Nice tie-in.
My gosh. This is awful. Well, Troy, do you have any words of wisdom to
I've
end
already
on?
logged off.
Yeah.
I've logged-
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we
Good,
appreciate everybody listening. We appreciate all your emails and comments. This has been episode 58 of the Dental Realist podcast, and we will see you on episode 59. Thanks.